Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome into West Virginia football. At the voice of college football, I'm Joey Foster. That's Shane Statmiller, and we're coming at you tonight. We really don't have a lot to talk about, but we thought, hey, he's been on vacation. I've been kind of busy all week, and then had an interview today with Senator Manchin. If you haven't seen that yet, it's up on the channel. Be sure and check that out. But anyway, so Shane, what's going on, brother?
Not much. I'm starting to get really excited about college football. Been taking the youngest boy to he's 10th grade. You know, they're practicing from 2:30 until 9:15. So like they're having their 2 days in the evening. So, you know, high school balls rolling up, you know, professional ball this weekend, you have a preseason game, and college is right around the corner. How can you not be excited about this time of year?
Yeah, it's like the best time of year, isn't it? I get excited twice a year: Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, of course. But college football time, when it's time for kickoff, about this time of year, I start getting pumped up, getting excited. My heart starts racing. I start thinking about, wow, are we going to be really good? Are we going to? Yeah, I remember last year though, and this is what makes me pause for a second and come to reality. I remember last year thinking that Texas Tech was going to be the absolute dominant force in the Big 12 and was just going to, you know, destroy everybody because they had so much returning and looked so good the previous year, and they just literally fell apart the first part of the season. That can always happen to any team, right? I mean, it
Utah?
just can't.
Could that happen
Right?
to Utah? I mean,
It,
that doesn't
it
matter how
could.
easy the schedule is. You got to play the games ahead of you. So
Right.
everybody's picking these guys to roll through people like knife through butter. And I don't know, guys. I think there's a lot of parity. And I talked on another show called saying, there's going to be a lot of losers. And I think with this conference realignment, and people are going to have some sad feelings when they're not where they think they should be. And that includes Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina State, Miami. Miami's a shell of what it was. There's a lot going on, a lot to talk to, but there's not much as far as factual information we provide. It's all hearsay, but something's going to happen soon.
Right. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, Utah's coming into a new conference. Period.
Yeah.
Now they're getting to play a lot of the newcomers to that conference, including Arizona, who they played in the past. And then they're going to play. I believe they've been playing all four of the other newcomers: BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, and who's the other one? Houston. I think they're playing all four of them, aren't they? And they're avoiding teams like West Virginia, Kansas State, but they are having to play Oklahoma State. And I'm chalking that up for a loss for them. But yeah, Utah's just really got a simple schedule. But like you say, hey, you're coming into a new conference. It's a new style of football. Now all of a sudden, you've got a little bit different travel. You've got a little bit different philosophy on football. You've got a little bit different coaching styles. And the way coaches coach in the Big 12 are a little bit different than the way they coach out there in the pack. And I think we've seen that at USC, right? We've seen Lincoln Riley go from Oklahoma and take on a USC team that was loaded, and he couldn't do much with them because for some reason they weren't used to running that style of offense. They weren't used to running the offense like he was bringing with him from the Big 12, and that's basically what he did. He started trying to run the same offense he ran at Oklahoma. And he ran the same defense too, and that's why they couldn't win.
yeah, that's right. Lincoln Riley. That's a great point, Joey. And then Tim Green made a great comment here. Could you put it up? It's I would love to see Miami come into the Big 12 if the ACC breaks up. Play starting to look looks like it's going to be possible. Here's the thing with Miami. They don't put butts in the seats, but if they start winning, that part of Florida has big bucks, and big bucks equals big sponsors, and big sponsors equals NIL. It's just they have to get that ball rolling. And if they do, they're a juggernaut, but they're pretty much down and Clemson's up. So they've kind of flip flopped. Miami 15 years ago would have been much hotter ticket than Florida State, I think. You know,
Yeah.
But it's all timing, and I think Clemson is you're buying a stock at its peak, and I don't think it's a good value. I mean, I think they're on the way down, and I think Florida State's pretty steady. I think it's a good bet. North Carolina, those are for teams for like anybody, the Big 10, the Big 12, the SEC, if they were to grab them. But I bang this drum week in and week out. Louisville
Yeah.
was making money when they weren't even in the ACC. They're a great, solid program, good fan base. They put butts in the seats even when they're mediocre.
And a beautiful campus.
And a beautiful campus. And it's easy travel, not easy travel, but it's more manageable for West Virginia fans to go to. And then you can put in maybe your Virginia Techs, but I don't even know if Virginia Tech and Pitt have as much value as say like a Louisville or a Miami. Yep. Those are the two crown jewels that the Big 12, I hope, are looking at. But that's what I followed on vacation, is just trying to keep up on what the hell's going on. Is it going to happen? Is the linchpin going to be pulled, and is everything going to explode? I don't know.
Let's say hi to everybody out here in the chat. Kelly McCourt with us, of course. As always, appreciate you, Kelly. Mr. Jackson Johnson, he says, "What's up, Mountaineer Nation?" David Cummins coming in. Hey, David, nice to see you, buddy. Let's go, Mountaineers. I'm glad to see Joey doing well. I'm doing great, David. Nice to see you. I don't know who this character is, this West Virginia Mountaineer Mafia guy. But I'm glad he's here.
Don't know.
Timothy Green, hello to everyone in the chat. Let's go, Mountaineers. I appreciate you being here, Timothy. Paxton in the house. Paxton, he says, "What's up, man?" Kelly McCord already mentioned Kelly. Now, Paxton says something here, though. I'm looking for that. Oh, there it is.
He agreed with
Paxton
you.
said, "I'm never buying in on Tech again, Joey." I did the same thing. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people did. Wanda E coming in. Appreciate you, Wanda, for being here. Hello, Joey. Hit that thumbs up. She says, "Yes, please hit that thumbs up, everybody." I would appreciate that very much. Paxton says also, one guy he saw has 7 SEC teams making the playoffs. That guy's not real smart, is he?
No, he must be taking his shoes off to count, because that's the only way I can get to 7.
Yeah, there's no way that 7 SEC teams make the playoffs, because I'm gonna tell you, I believe there could be as many as 3 teams from the Big 12. Now I think there'll be 2 for sure.
For sure, yeah.
But I think there could be as many as 3 teams in the Big 12, because I could see teams. I could see 2. I could really see 2 undefeated teams playing for the Big 12 championship.
Absolutely.
I really could.
Absolutely.
And then I could see a 1-loss team not getting to play. I mean,
let's do a scenario with that. We've talked a little bit about this. Say West Virginia beats the doors off of Penn State. Okay, that's all my wish list. Okay, but if that happens, and they go to the Big 12 championship game and they lose the Big 12 championship game, there's no way they're keeping out a West Virginia team that went undefeated, beat a huge non-conference team, which even if they beat Penn State's still going to be a top 25 team at the end of the season. Right. And, that's your third team getting in, possibly, because the other team might be a 1-loss Big 12 team.
I could see. So Utah and West Virginia don't play each other, and West Virginia is a really good team. Utah's a really good team. I could see both of them going undefeated. Let's just say both go undefeated. And Oklahoma State, well, they got to play West Virginia and Utah. There's got to be a team out there. UCF, they play both of them. Somebody out there probably don't play either one of them, or plays only one of them and maybe loses to them.
Yep.
So let's say I don't know, Iowa State. Let's say West Virginia beats Iowa State. I don't know if Iowa State plays Utah or not. I'm not sure. Now. But let's just take an example there and say, okay, Utah not playing Iowa State, West Virginia does. West Virginia beating Iowa State, and that be Iowa State's only loss. I could see Iowa State getting into the playoffs, maybe not making a championship team, because maybe an undefeated West Virginia, undefeated Utah get in. Now, saying an undefeated West Virginia and an undefeated Utah and an undefeated any team in the Big 12 is a tall order. And anybody that can go undefeated in the Big 12 deserves to be in the playoffs. Maybe definitely deserves to be in the top 4.
Hey, I just saw this article pop up about 5 minutes before we started our show, and I want to talk about it. I know we're all over the place, but this is the ADHD edition. So,
Let me post the StreamYard link in case anybody wants to come
yeah,
in. Because this is a call-in show, so let me post that real
yeah, let's
quick.
do it.
There's StreamYard link, everybody, if anybody wants to come in with us. Go ahead there, Shay.
So right here, this was posted, and I thought this was really neat. Okay, basically, West Virginia is criminally underrated. So it says being underrated is not something West Virginia has to get used to, but it's part of the program's identity. So it's the 15. They bring it up the fact that they're the 15 winningest program in college football history. As they enter the 2024 season, national conversation about the Mountaineer has been minimal. The media picked them to finish seventh in the Big 12 with a total season win per sports books of 6.5. But Pro Football Focus Max Chadwick is one of the few outsiders outside of the state who are confused as why the expectations for the West Virginia team are so low. He said they were 9-4 last season. They bring back their quarterback Eric Green, who's one of our top 10 quarterbacks country. They've got Wyatt Millum, who's protecting him, who's broke down to be one of the top 10 offensive line. So basically, this guy is buying the Mountaineers, and he's like, listen, there's no way they shouldn't be, sniffing the top 25. So
There's a lot of people, as we get closer to football season, that are starting to come to life about West Virginia. A
yeah,
lot of people that were ignoring them 2 months ago. And as we get closer to kickoff time, they're starting to look at this game and go, all right, let's look at what West Virginia has versus what Penn State has. So we can say, okay, that line of 10.5 is horrible. Penn State's going to beat them by 21. That's what they're thinking. And then when they go and look and compare the two teams and they say, wait a minute, hey, hold on here. West Virginia returned 90% of their offense, 91% of their offensive production, off a team that went 9-4 and beat the brakes off people, including North Carolina in a bowl game. A team that kept up with Penn State until the fourth quarter last year with a young West Virginia team. Now it's a veteran West Virginia team. Hey, they're starting to come around and say, well, there's a possibility West Virginia could upset Penn State. I think there's more than a possibility. I think there's a really good chance that West Virginia upsets Penn State.
yeah, I'm starting to feel that more, Joey, as the season goes on, especially with some juggernauts on the schedule. I mean, Alabama's still Alabama. They're not Alabama with Nick Saban, but they're still, a blue blood that's going to be on our schedule. And with West Virginia's recruiting of late, that's a winnable game.
Yep.
Especially at home.
Let me answer a store question here real quick. Andy says, hey, Joey, did you refresh the store page? My order disappeared. Andy, so yes, I didn't refresh the store page necessarily, but here's what I had to do. So we have some new content creators coming in to topqualityshirts.com. New content creators such as Controversial Cruising, Big BC Live. I mean, we've had a lot in the last few weeks, and we've got a couple of more that are going to be coming in as well. We were selling some products from those people that their logos were not very good, and the digitalization on them didn't work. And so I had to remove all those products. So if you would have had one of those products in your cart, it would have taken your cart away because I removed one of them. So I don't know what you had in your cart, Andy, but if you had something in your cart from one of those content creators, whether it's Controversial Cruising, Big BC, Gutter Pub, whoever it might have been, there's a possibility that that's why you lost your cart. So, and I apologize. We are adding those products back on. Controversial Cruising is already back up there. He's got his new logo. I'm waiting on Gutter Pub's new logo, and I'm waiting on Big BC's new logo. And as soon as we get those, they'll have their products back up there within a couple of days. So just keep an eye on the store because those should be coming in maybe tomorrow. So keep an eye on the store. Anyway, so let's see what Kelly's saying here. Did you see the guy that does in the Gun podcast, which had Jennings predicted that Zach Frazier will play by Halloween for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
You know what, guys? I screwed up with my prediction. I said I was preaching from the mountaintop saying Zach Frazier is a starter day one. I think Nick Herbig, I get them all mixed up, but there's two Herbigs, is going to play in front of him for a few games by Halloween. That's likely. But let's talk about Beanie Bishop.
Mm.
You know, that Sutton character got in some trouble. He's suspended for 8 games. Great opportunity for Beanie Bishop. He's been very physical. I didn't know his physicality would transfer to the NFL, but he is literally handling himself at that nickelback position. And everybody's just singing the praises on that kid. And if you're going to buy a Steelers jersey, buy a Beanie Bishop one.
Yeah. Mountain Earlier with Kenny. Appreciate you being here. Howdy to you. So he says, Andy says I had the hat from TS Page. No, I didn't mess with the hat from TS Page at all, so it should still be in there. I apologize if it's not. Maybe there's a time limit on how long you have to check out before it leaves your cart. I don't know. So I apologize, Andy. Just throw it back in there if you can. And if you're having some trouble with it or something, you know my email address, footballnewshour@gmail.com. And I think, Andy, I believe you might even know my phone number. So just give me a call or something. So
867-9309.
I agree with what Paxton says right here. Penn State and West Virginia should be played in the snow. Heck yeah. Why not?
Paxton, no, man. It should be played at the freaking nighttime.
It's 1982 all over.
This Fox News kickoff is just, I mean, it allows me to go to the game. And I was telling Joey, my son is going to be playing his first game or second game of the season. And they moved it from Friday to Saturday, which is strange. But they're playing at 7 p.m. And I live about 2.5 hours north of Morgantown. So I might be able to do both in the same day. Take my older son to the Penn State West Virginia game and then hustle back up to watch the youngest one play. So, but man, I want to see a night game, man. That would be electric.
You know, and the new lights, the new laser lights and all the light shows and stuff in Morgantown. I mean, that first night game, I don't care if it's an FCS team, right?
Yeah.
If it's an FCS team, if it's a night game, man, that place is gonna be packed because people want to see those lights and see the new light shows and everything up there in Morgantown. I can't wait to see it myself. I know when I interviewed Neil Brown a couple months ago, I was asking him about the spring game, and I told him, I said, I noticed that Garrett Green, kept doing this on his helmet, putting his hand up to his ear because he couldn't hear the signal being called into him. Remember, they used the new system where they used the radio where they can talk to him, and he couldn't hear what they were saying, what the plays were called, and he would just throw his hands up during the spring game and go, I can't hear you. So I asked Neil Brown about that, and I said, is that going to be a problem during the season? Because we sure as hell don't need something like that happening during the Penn State game. And he said, oh, no. We didn't have the technology installed yet, and we're putting a new Wi-Fi system and everything in the stadium. So everything's going to be a lot better, and there won't be none of those communication problems. Now, whether or not that Wi-Fi system is going to be for the fans, I don't know. But that Wi-Fi system, yeah. But that new Wi-Fi system is going to be, it's installed now. It's done. It's ready to go. And so are the lights. So is everything. So there shouldn't be any problem with that. But that worried me during that spring game because I seen him doing this and saying, "Hey, I don't know what the hell y'all are saying in this thing." It's, you can imagine it going. Okay, we're going to run, and also, and then be sure and throw the ball too. And don't forget, okay, good job, Garrett. Get him done. Yeah, I mean, you can just hear him saying that, and he's going, "What? What the hell did you say?" So, I could just see something like that. So,
yeah.
I'm hoping.
Kenny said the Coal Rush uniforms for the Kansas game. Think that might be a night game? Did they post the time for the Kansas game yet?
I don't know if they posted
I'm looking right now.
yet. No, he's saying that would be an awesome game to do it as.
Right,
I don't know. I just still thought the Coal Rush uniforms would have been great for the Penn State game because Penn State likes their little whiteout.
Yeah.
Imagine us doing a little blackout. I mean, it was just, I just figured that we missed an opportunity there.
Call it Salt and Pepper and have Salt and Pepper come out and play at halftime. Hey, Kansas is the one week. So we have week 3's time. The pit game's at 3:30. which is going to be a nightmare because the Pirates are playing at noon. So
Oh,
that's going to be
wow.
horrible. Or 1 o'clock, something like that. And Kansas, West Virginia, the time is to be announced, guys. So very
Yeah.
possibly, Kenny, we could get our wish and see them in the black uniforms.
Now, Kenny's saying it's set for 7:30 kickoff. Now, I don't I don't know. I mean, but, then Silas says no times are set for anything after pit, and that's what you just said as well, Shane. So we got some company coming in with us. uh, Mr. Jackson Johnson. What do you say, Jackson?
How you doing, gents?
Hey,
Good.
buddy.
You get a
Hey, I'm
chance
going to
to,
pop out
watch
for 30
the interview?
seconds. Hold on.
Okay, Shane.
Yeah, I
You get
watched
a
a little
chance?
bit of it. It was pretty cool. Congrats.
Yeah, he's really nice. Joe Manchin's really nice to come on for me every year, and give us a few minutes. He don't have a lot of time to sit and talk college football, obviously, but I know he's a huge fan. I know he loves it. Played football at West Virginia, and a true Mountaineer. So, um, and we might see completely opposite on politics, but I do think of him as a friend of the family. Even though we're not really that close of friends, but he is a friend of the family and things. So yeah, appreciate anybody that has not seen that interview yet. I posted it today, and so it's on the channel. I interviewed Joe Manchin, and we talked about quite a bit of everything. I mean, we touched on everything. We touched on NIL. We touched on Children's Hospital and Brian Joswiak and Jeff Hostetler and what they do for it. We touched on the new president of the West Virginia University, and who that may be. And he touches on whether or not it will be him. So you may watch that interview, so you'll know whether or not Joe Manchin's going to apply for that job at the university. So, but yeah, come on, it was a great interview, and I had a good time doing it. We had a lot of technical difficulties. Let me tell you guys about that interview. Kind of funny. So it was supposed to be a phone interview because we use StreamYard here, obviously on YouTube. Most everybody uses StreamYard. Well, they can't use StreamYard at the Capitol due to security reasons, right? But they can use Zoom. So I decided, okay, we'll do it on Zoom. I'll record it. We'll set it up. So had the Zoom thing all set up, ready to go. I talked to them yesterday, and they said, yeah, that'd be great. We'll do it on Zoom. They called me this morning about 2 hours before the interview, about 2.5 hours before the interview, and it was like, Joey, we have a lot of problems with our internet today here at the Capitol. Now, obviously, not the national security internet, but their little basic internet that they use for everyday stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was having some trouble, and they couldn't get on. They said, but we'll keep trying. We'll see how it works out. Just letting you know now that it may not. So I started getting ready for a phone interview because it was going to have to be phone if it wasn't that. Well, they called me at 5 after 12. The interview was supposed to be at 12:30. They called me at 5 after 12. They have no internet, absolutely none. They can't do anything. So I'm like, oh, okay. They said, so he's going to call you, and I said, okay. I said, that's fine. So I'm sitting out on my front porch at 10 after 12. 5 minutes later, I'm sitting on my front porch. Phone rings. And I answer it, and it's Joe. It's Joe Manchin. He's like, "Hey, Joey, ready for the interview?" I'm like, I'm sitting on the porch. It's not for another 20 minutes. Oh, I'm ready to go now. I'm like, oh, okay. Can you give me 5 minutes? I got to get inside and get set up. I had to hook my phone up to all the sound system and everything. And he said, sure, sure, sure. So we talked. I came in here, hooked everything up real quick, and we did our interview. But a quarter of the way into the interview, I was recording it on StreamYard. So I was running it through my sound system, and StreamYard was recording everything. StreamYard just all of a sudden decided, here's what it did to me. So look at my picture. See my picture up here on the screen? Here's what it did to me on StreamYard.
Oh, Lord.
So all of a sudden, I had nothing. Absolutely nothing. StreamYard just shut down on me. My whole screen just went black. From not black, but just went off. No StreamYard. So I'm telling Joe on the phone, I'm sorry, Senator, give me a second because I've got to get it back up. Everything just went down on me. So I get StreamYard brought back up, get back to recording again. About a quarter of the way further into the interview, Joe's telling me a story about his mother, and Jerry West, about the story about Jerry West. If anybody has seen the interview, when we was talking about Jerry West, and he's talking to me, and all of a sudden he just stops talking, and I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, is there any more to the story? Because it was like mid sentence. It was like, and that was it. And I'm sitting here waiting for the and nothing. Well, his phone service completely dropped. So I don't know if we had some solar flares today or what's going on, but he had to call me back, and he's like, "That was on my end. I don't know what happened. My phone just all of a sudden just shut off." So yeah, it was a pretty interesting interview. If you and then when he come back, if you notice the end of the interview, it don't sound as good as the beginning. He had very little phone service. I mean, it was like crackling. You could hear that, right? So I don't know what it was about that, but yeah, he didn't have real good service after that. I don't know what happened, solar flares or a cyber attack. Who knows?
I wanted to ask you, Joey. Our boy Clint, our TCU connection, Jackson. You know him. We got to start giving him some heat about Dana Holgerson coming on board. What are you thinking about that, boys? Huh? They got a little bit of Dana, a little comb over action going.
Oh my God!
TCU.
So is he gonna do a skit and be like Dana Holgerson in the skit?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that. So Jackson, we talked a little bit about Alabama being on West Virginia's schedule, or vice versa. Are you planning to make a trip to Morgantown?
I hope I get to by that time. That would be awesome.
You crash at my place, and I'll drive you down. So just let me know.
All righty. I'll have to make sure to do that, because I'll tell you one thing. I want to see the Alabama West Virginia home and home series stay on. I really do, because it's like, it was nice playing y'all in the chip play kickoff, but I like the home and home action.
So I think Mountaineer Live with Kenny is saying that was something that Ren said.
Right.
On Three Guys with Tony.
Yep.
That the word is that Kansas and Iowa State game, Coal Rush uniforms. That was what was said. So I didn't get to see that Three Guys for the game.
I'm excited. So what I'm going to do for Kansas is I have a friend coming in from Michigan. He owns a business in East Lansing. I don't know how you go from the home where Michigan State is to being a Mountaineer, but that's what happened with him. He's a Mountaineer. But he lives up there now.
Hey, so was Frank Fear, and he was professor at Michigan State.
Yeah,
so I mean,
So he's coming down, and I'm gonna have to buy 2 tickets for my boys. But we're just it's gonna be a great evening for football, because the weather's still gonna be perfect. The sunset's gonna about that time of year is gonna be about 6 o'clock. It's gonna get dark, and then the lights are gonna be full tilt when the game starts, and you're gonna have those black unis. I might have to buy another black West Virginia hat. I know our buddy Brian is hating on the Coal Rush uniforms, but I'm buying. I love it.
He wants the traditional gold and blue.
Yeah, that's not right. How dare they?
That's not right. They can't do that.
I respect the coal, but it's gold and blue.
Gold and blue. Yeah. You gotta love Brian Joseph. Gotta love it.
Oh,
me and Joe Manchin talked about him today, and how great of a job he's done for West Virginia University with the golf tournament. Him and Jeff Hostetler both, just do amazing jobs for the Children's Hospital. Everything. All right, so like I say, this show is a call-in show. We want to talk some football. We've been talking about this stuff for a while. Let's talk some football. Jackson, let me ask you a question.
All right.
Your team lost their coach.
Right.
Your team's got a new coach.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, guys, we're talking about Alabama, in case you don't know. Your team lost the coach, got a new coach, got a really good roster. What do you expect out of Alabama this year, Jackson? Just out of curiosity.
I'm not expecting an SEC title, but I do think we can make the playoffs. I think we can get to the playoffs. I mean, realistically, I'm looking at a 10-2 season for the Crimson Tide.
I was going to say 1.5 is what I'm deduction for Nick Saban not being there, right? 1.5 losses for
Yeah.
having old Nick out of the building.
Well, the players that are there that were there last year that obviously have been developed by Nick Saban, obviously been taught by Nick Saban. So I don't expect a big change in them right away, but the coaching style is going to be different. So they're going to be trying to learn new schemes and new things. So in the SEC, it's not like you're doing that in the ACC, right? If you're trying to learn a new scheme, you're Alabama in ACC and you're trying to learn a new scheme. Guess what? You still win 12 games. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the SEC, now all of a sudden you're facing LSU, Georgia, hell, even Kentucky. But so things can be a little bit different in the SEC. But I agree with you. I would be okay with 10-2, but I'm thinking more 9-3 for Alabama. Not because I think they're a bad team, because I think they're a fantastic team. I think it's just the idea that new scheme, new philosophies, new culture, new everything makes a difference. And if you think culture don't make a difference, look at what happened to Texas. I mean, Texas on top of the world, and the culture just went to shit. And what happened to Texas? They went to shit for many years. So they're starting to get their culture back now, and starting to win some games. So that culture makes a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, culture makes a huge amount of difference for everybody in all of college football.
Yeah, and I think Wisconsin Alabama week 3, guys, that's going to be a must-watch game because we'll see exactly. I think that's, as far as the pecking order, Wisconsin is maybe just top of the second tier of the Big Ten, and Alabama is still top tier of the SEC. If Alabama puts a whooping on Wisconsin, we know that the SEC is still legit. That's just the way it is.
Well, and the thing is though, everybody's always going to bring their A game against Alabama. Like that's the thing. Like, and matter of fact, it's kind of how it is with a lot of blue bloods. Everyone brings their A game against the blue bloods. And I'm looking forward to seeing how much momentum Wisconsin has gotten from that ReliaQuest Bowl against LSU. And I know LSU didn't have their Heisman Trophy winning quarterback in that game because of the opt out. But still, though, you got to admit, some people are probably thinking maybe Wisconsin could surprise some people this year. It could happen.
Yeah,
that opt-out thing. That opt-out
Yeah.
thing. We didn't talk about that with Senator Manchin today, and that's something I really wanted to touch on. But we did talk about players transferring and players getting this NIL and stuff, and having them sign a contract that ties them to a university, and gets them to stay there. And, it's like he talked about, it used to be if you were a freshman, sophomore, and junior, and you didn't make the field, you couldn't just transfer and go and play somewhere else. You just couldn't do it. You had to stay at the program. And then if you were a freshman, sophomore, and you transferred, you set out that year, and you didn't get to play. And they needed to go back to that. And he thought we should go back to that, and I do too. Now he says that the new NCAA president is a good friend of his and a great guy, and is going to implement a lot of good changes. So, I'm hoping that some of this has to do with transfer portal rules and with NIL, rules, maybe allowing them. Hey, that's like I told Joe today. Take out the paper play rule, so they can write these contracts to say, "Hey, you've got to play for West Virginia. You got to play for Ohio State. You got to play for Alabama, wherever it might be. You have to play there to get this NIL money, and that way it'll keep players from chasing them dollars. They'll be focused on getting an education first and just staying there. And like he said, they're student athletes, right? They're students first, and then an athlete. If they're just going to be athletes, just go to the NFL. Just if you think you're so good, just go on to the NFL. Why even go to college? Just go on and try out. So I don't understand the. Now, when will these changes take place? That's what I'd like to know. Is how much longer can we wait? Now, West Virginia right now is what was one of the first teams to say, okay, we're going to pay all of our players in the past. We're going to catch up with everything, and we'll pay out this extra $20 million, whatever. And they're embracing it, and they've embraced NIL and got a top 10 NIL program in the country. So West Virginia is starting to come out of the dark. How long can they do that, though? How long can they keep up with the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio State, and stuff? Because let's face it, it's West Virginia, and there might be a lot of money in West Virginia, and there is a lot of money in West
Yeah.
Virginia. There's a lot of poor people, but there's a lot of money in West Virginia, a whole lot. And so,
I want to say something about West Virginia because I didn't get a chance to see you, Joey, when I was driving through because of the time of night I was driving through. But listen to this, guys. If you're not a West Virginia fan and you're watching this show, I'm going to educate you. If you drive for crying out loud, you're not even out of Virginia and you're seeing West Virginia stuff. I mean, you're seeing West Virginia stuff in South Carolina. And Golden Blue Dude, if Chris was still here, he would attest to that. It's the way it is. You're seeing Mountaineer stuff. If you're driving solid 8 hours of nothing but Mountaineer flying WVs from 77 to 19 to 79, the whole way up halfway to Pittsburgh is the gold and blue. And that's just the way it is. So there is money in them hills.
yeah. So Todd has a question. Really? How do you know how good your NIL program is since it's not public? Because we know. Because I know. I know how good our NIL program is. And also because about anywhere you read about top NIL programs in the country, West Virginia is always in the top 10. So it's public to some people, and you can find out.
Well,
It's just-
Todd,
it's-
Todd, there's some key personnel that are super successful, i.e. the owner of the Arizona Arizona baseball club,
Yeah.
you know who that
Arizona
is.
Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks.
Yeah. And then you have, the logo helped a little bit,
Right.
Senator Manchin.
Yeah.
Oliver
Luck.
Yeah, Oliver Luck, who has been, sprinkled into everything from, past 20 years as I'm surprised he hasn't been the commissioner of some conference, but
Yeah.
but that's basically, we have smart people doing smart things. The money's there. There hasn't been many complaints as far as the basketball program goes of having funds to get kids on board, even with a huge loss of a major celebrity personality in Bob Huggins. That was a scare. We thought that might drop off. That money might kind of take a little bit of a nosedive, but it hasn't. The money's there. It's not public, but people in the know, and they're not hurting for now. They could always use more money because, guys, Austin Lamborghini just gave 2 Lambos on lease to receivers, to a cornerback and a receiver at Texas. So that's what you're competing with. Okay. So you never have too much.
Right. And so Steven says, come on, guys, West Virginia beating Penn State or Wisconsin got a chance. I'll say it, neither is going to be close. We don't play Wisconsin, so I don't know who you're.
No, he's saying Wisconsin, Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
Okay. Well,
I don't know, Steven. We'll have to see because I've seen some crazy things. I didn't think West Virginia had a chance back in 2008 against a very powerful Oklahoma team, and they ran roughshod over them.
Stephen, Penn State didn't beat us 38-10 last year, and they had a much better team. I mean, they were senior laden and really good team.
They were at home.
I mean, they were amazing last year, and they didn't beat us 38-10 last year.
We're gonna. I'm writing that down. I'm writing that score down. I'm getting my pencil.
Yeah.
Writing that
Stephen,
down.
don't be. And
That's a
plus, you
bold
got to remember
statement.
last year too was at Penn State. This year's in Morgantown. Morgantown's a really tough place to play. I don't care what anybody says. I know that a lot of people are coming out now saying, well, West Virginia is not in the top 25 of toughest places to play. But there's been a lot of rebuttal against that, including a lot of guys on ESPN. Kirk Herbstreit even said, oh, somebody's not been to Morgantown. You better go to Morgantown because that's a crazy place. It's a tough place to play. So,
there's years where it was tougher than other years. Circa like 93 through 93 was a rough year, and then of course the aughts like 04, 5, 6, 7, 8 up to 12 was
Yeah.
just mayhem because those
Right.
were good teams and the fan base was rabid. There's been some down years. I can see that. But, if you go there on a night game and there's something on the line, it's going to be talk to Virginia Tech and talk to
Talk to LSU. I've talked to
LSU.
several LSU
Yeah.
fans. I've
They
talked to
came in.
several LSU fans that are boosters at LSU and
Yeah,
big
they're
money people
surprised.
that go to every game at LSU. And we played them in a night game in 2010. They came to Morgantown in 2011 and played us in a night game because it was 1-1. And I had probably 10 LSU fans tell me, "Hey, that was an electric atmosphere. That was as tough as playing at Tiger Stadium." And that's what they said. So,
Now
yeah.
let me share why it's such a big difference. Okay, so a Penn State fan or a Pitt fan on Sunday, they take their college hat off and they put on a Steelers hat or maybe an Eagles hat if they're Penn State, East Coast. Okay, listen, West Virginia fans don't have a pro team, so Nana and Uncle Larry and Jim Bob down the holler watch the Mountaineers. You don't have that kind of you don't have that kind of, just everybody lives and breathes it. I mean, you can't wipe your ass in the state of West Virginia without seeing gold and blue toilet paper. And that's not the case in Pennsylvania, because you got Temple, Villanova, Penn State, Pitt, and then all these other little schools sprinkled in and out that each have 20,000 students, 15,000 students, like Slippery Rock, Shippensburg, IUP, but West Virginia has Marshall, WVU, and maybe like Glenville State, but those are small schools. West Virginia is the professional team in the state. That's it.
It is. It really is. It's the only thing there is coming and going in West Virginia. And in the interview today with Senator Manchin, he even mentioned that before me. It was like anywhere I go, anywhere in the world, I can,
Yes.
and you can go anywhere in the world. And the first thing when he tells them he's from West Virginia, they start singing country roads to him and talk about West Virginia Mountaineers.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter where he goes. And that's the same way with me. I know if I go, I've been down to Texas, where West Virginia had people come up and start singing country roads. I was at a mall one night in Texas, and we were walking down the mall, and a couple of people were walking by us and started singing country roads and stuff, and telling me how good of a football team we had in West Virginia. People know West Virginia football. Even you guys that are coming in here now saying we don't have a chance to get against Penn State, you know West Virginia football. Let me ask you a question. How much do you know about Marshall? How much do you know about Virginia Tech? How much do you know about NC State? How much do you know about TCU or Texas Tech? You don't know a lot about them, but everybody knows West Virginia football. Everybody can tell you. You mentioned West Virginia football. Here's what I get. One of the first things I always get is Major Harris.
Yeah.
Within the top 5, here's the top 5 things I always hear. Major Harris, Steve Slayton, Pat White, Geno Smith, Tavon Austin, Pac-Man Jones. I mean, I hear this everywhere. Darryl Talley. These are the names that I hear. And then every once in a while I'll hear, Jerry West. Yeah, NFL. People know West Virginia football, basketball, and everything. So yeah, I think we're fine in Morgantown. I really do. And we are, and the university has a huge impact on this state, in the effect of nearly $1 billion a year coming into the state just for football. Not just for football, but I mean the impact that it has is $1 billion economy, right? Is that what it was? Shane Lyons had this done back in 2018 or 19. It was something like $1 billion a year.
Financial impact of the university on the county and that area and that region. Guys, if you drive through Morgantown, and if you only go there every few months, you can see how huge it's become in 20 years. You drive through Western Pennsylvania, you don't see that growth, maybe in a few small places, but not to the extent of West Virginia. Now that's college. That's all the the college money coming in. But you don't have that growth at other colleges. Like I travel quite a bit, and it's been growing pretty good. But it all ties into winning football. I mean, you look at '93, West Virginia had, the enrollment was lower, and then in '94 they had an increase of 20% because they went undefeated. There's a correlation there.
Yeah.
Enrollment went up again in 10 years later when you had the 05 team that was looking solid, and 06, 07. So you have that growth based off of how the program is as far as a brand. Look at Oregon. Oregon was a sleepy little bohunk school, and then of course you have Nike down the street. Everything can take a turn. Miami until Howard was there, it was a shit school no one went to, and they had a terrible program. They start winning football games in the '80s, and then they become, you had their logo in the Sears catalog in the '80s and '90s. You could buy a jacket in Western Pennsylvania that had the U on it. It just that all comes from winning ball, guys.
It could be interesting to write this number down. Right now, there are 26,791 students at West Virginia University. 26,791. I've seen that number is 36,000 before. I've seen this up to 36,000 enrollment. So 26,000 right now. Let's see what happens this year. And if we have a 10, 11 win season, let's see what our enrollment is next year. And then, because that plays a lot into that. And if you enroll more kids, guess what? You got more fans. You got more support.
Money.
You've got more money, right?
You're not just getting one fan. You're getting the mom and dad.
Right.
Ooh, go West Virginia.
You get mom, dad, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins. And it's the same way at every university I know, and it all averages out in the end. So we think, but it does not. If it did average out in the end, then Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia would eventually start losing, and other teams would start winning. But they never seem to lose. So.
No, that's the mystery. Is some of these teams, even a down year, is just 9 wins, like Alabama. This will be everybody will be sad pandas in Alabama, down there in Tuscaloosa because we won 9 games. So success breeds disappointment.
I heard a coach.
Yeah.
I heard a coach. So let's see.
Back to Alabama, I want to ask.
Where does West Virginia got an edge in position groups against Penn State? And you could say they lost players, but when do they just reload? Look at the recruiting last 5 years. Where does West Virginia? All right, I'll tell you where West Virginia's got an edge on Penn State. Penn State lost a lot of defense, and West Virginia lost no offense. How about that? West Virginia lost absolutely no offense. That Penn State defense couldn't stop last year. Penn State defense didn't stop West Virginia. West Virginia stopped West Virginia last year.
Yeah, West Virginia's recruiting hasn't been up to snuff, and this is the first year where they've been top 25, and they can compete. So this is going to be a rough year.
West Virginia stopped itself last season. Case in point was against Oklahoma State in the fourth quarter.
In the fourth quarter, right? Yeah, we had the game won. We just we stopped ourselves. Case in point, also Houston game. But for the record here, we're talking about the Penn State game. But Penn State didn't stop West Virginia. West Virginia stopped West Virginia. Penn State could not control Garrett Green, C.J. Donaldson, Jaheim White in the backfield. I didn't care how good their defense was. Them guys had pretty good games against Penn State. And you know what? This year, Penn State don't have that same defense returning, but West Virginia's got that same offense. We lost Zach Frazier, our center. Right?
Yeah.
But the guy that's replacing him, he's got like 600 snaps somewhere. Yeah. So I mean, it's not like we're dropping off a lot.
And they got some decent transfers as far as the receiving core. Decent guys from Oklahoma State. The guy from Duquesne is coming in as a cornerback. They're getting some talent in the transfer portal. So we'll see, and that's why they play the game. If it's for butts and coconuts, we'll see.
Another thing too about West Virginia. I know a lot of people say, well, the academics there are just horrible. It's not that they're horrible. There's a lot of smart people. I mean, we're like the number 15 team or 15 or 16 university in the country as far as Rhodes Scholars. We're like 15 or 16, somewhere in that area. I mean, we got more Rhodes Scholars than a lot of teams that you would think would have a whole lot more than us. But we've got more than them. So we've got some really smart people at WU. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you this. So how many people know the brains behind NASCAR? The brains behind NASCAR in the 90s that signed these big, huge TV deals, and NASCAR became huge, graduated WU. How many people know that the president of I'm trying to think of the exact title. It is the president of medicine or for the United States or something.
The general,
Harris, Patricia Harris.
Surgeon General.
Well, she's not Surgeon General. Patricia Harris. She's the president of the medical board or something for the country. A graduate of West Virginia University. You know, we've got some really great smart people at West Virginia, and some great professors and as well. So I think that you need to look at that and say, okay, so why is West Virginia's academics down so far? If that's the case, Joy, the reason why is because of our motto. Our motto is to educate Appalachia. We don't turn down anybody that's in West Virginia. You're in West Virginia and you want to go to college, and guess what? You can go to WU. And the problem is a lot of these students get in there and they can't cut the mustard, and they drop out or they fail or whatever, right? So that's where it hurts. A lot of schools like Pitt, for instance, they've got like 17 schools that they can send these kids to, and they can get their grades up and learn how to keep up in college and go back to Pitt and actually do well. That's why Pitt's got AAU status. That's why Pitt's on top of the world and one of the best schools in the country is because of that. West Virginia don't have all these places, all these smaller colleges to send them to and let them get caught up and bring them back to WU when they learn to make the grade. So there's your difference in academics. That's all the difference there is. So if it wasn't for that, I'm going to tell you right now, if West Virginia didn't have that motto, West Virginia would have been in the Big Ten a long time ago.
Well, let's talk about Penn State. Penn State wanted to get into the Big East, and the Big East told them to pound sand because their basketball program sucked. So if Penn State would have went into the Big East, the whole landscape of college football would have changed. I'm just saying. You would have had, when the Big East might not have just washed out because Penn State has always been a powerhouse for football. So,
Bad move by the Big East turning down Penn State.
It was the dumbest move in history. It's got to be the dumbest move in
ACC
history.
and SEC turning down the Mountaineers too, so.
Well, the SEC didn't turn us down. We got voted into the SEC. ESPN said, hey, wait a minute. We can get the Kansas City market from Missouri. Why don't y'all go get Missouri? And ESPN made that decision.
Okay,
Kansas City market. We want that Kansas City market. Get Missouri. I don't know why they even said that, because we pulled better viewership numbers than Missouri. You go back and look. At from 2005 up through 2012 when all this took place. West Virginia had a lot better viewership than Missouri did. So why they did that, I don't know. It's just ESPN's always had it out for West Virginia. Anybody that's ever watched College Game Day knows that. How many times do they pick West Virginia to win? Say zero. Somebody say zero. They very seldom pick West Virginia to win.
I haven't heard anything on Herb Street and old Pat McAfee coming into Motown to do their little dog and pony show.
That'd be interesting.
That was supposed to happen. That's supposed to happen because Herb Street lost that bet. They're supposed to do like a little performance down in Morgantown for the fans there.
And Kenny says, "What about Don Knotts? One of the best comedians ever." Yes, graduated of VU. Sure was. Don Knotts graduated of VU. Well, smarter than he acted on stage. I'll tell you that.
I know my grandmother thought I made it when I told her I ran into Don Knotts at the Kroger in Morgantown in the early 90s.
So you ran into a former Mountaineer on vacation. Tell us about that.
Yeah, John Steppel. He was a Mountaineer, I think, in 94 or 95. We were doing the Steelers Dynasty podcast, and I was at Oscar's, which is a Steelers bar, and there's just more West Virginia fans there than Steelers fans. And they're walking past, and of course, I'm always rocking a West Virginia hat or shirt, and they're just yelling, "Let's go Mountaineers" and stuff. And I talked to John for a second, and yeah, it's a small world. It is. So he lives down
Now,
there.
B Bean, you win my trivia all the time. Are you telling me you don't know who Don Knotts is?
Oh
I
my
know better than that.
gosh.
Come on. Andy Griffith Show. The deputy on Andy Griffith Show. I
Wow.
mean, my goodness
Hey,
gracious,
Andy.
Bean. Barney Fife. Yeah.
Hey, Fife. One bullet.
All right, guys. Well, I wish somebody would have come in with us tonight and hung out and things, but I'm glad
Yeah.
Jackson did. Obviously, Jackson comes in with us all the time. We appreciate Jackson. But all you people out here in the comments making comments and things, hey, you guys are welcome to come in here. I guarantee you, I can take it. You can come in here and tell me how stupid and dumb I am, how crazy I am. Penn State's going to destroy West Virginia, and give me your reasoning, and I'll give you the reason why you're wrong. And that's why you won't come in here. You're afraid. You're afraid to face me.
No, I'll tell you what. It's
I'm
gonna
kidding,
be.
I'm
It's
kidding.
gonna be. It's a game that I would like West Virginia to win, and we've talked about it many times. If I could pick West Virginia beating Penn State or winning the Big 12, I'm going to pick them beating Penn State because of where I live, and
Yeah.
it'd be great. Unfortunately for West Virginia, when West Virginia was a solid program, they weren't playing, and of course that was a period of time that was not very good for Penn State. It's unfortunate, but West Virginia would have definitely had a few wins 05, 06, 07, 08, you know,
Yeah.
up to maybe
Probably from
2012.
05 through 012, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there would be a 7-year span where it would have been, they would have maybe been the favorites. But, if wish in one hand, crap in the other, and clap, right?
Right. Yeah. All right, guys. We do appreciate everybody coming in. Listen, tomorrow night I am doing trivia on the channel at 9:00. Shane, you got a show tomorrow night at 8. You going to do your show tomorrow night? I don't know. You recovered from vacation? Got everything ready to go?
Vacation. I'll be going live at 8:00, and we're going to be talking about where the Big 12 in West Virginia are they going to be at the big boy table? It's like, if they can swing some teams in our region, finally they'll be sitting at the big boy table, and maybe the Big 12 will be, be able to.
I hate all this talk. Look, I don't have nothing against Oregon State and Washington State. I think they should be in a power conference. I think they're great teams. But listen, I don't want West Virginia to have to travel to Corvallis to play a daggone football game, and I don't want Oregon State to have to travel to Morgantown either.
No, it's terrible. I travel out there for work every few months, and now I've said this before, and I'll say it again. And it came from someone who lives out in Corvallis. They're like, Corvallis is like Morgantown. It has the same vibe, and it does. It has like a West Coast, Morgantown vibe. It has that same kind of size, demographic, blue collar people. The sports fans don't get a lot of love from their peers. They're likable. The Beavers are a likable program. Does that translate into wanting them to have to travel out here to play them? Now, Utah would love to have Oregon State and Washington in there. Mm-hmm. They would love it.
So would Arizona State,
BYU.
All those guys. BYU.
But does it bring the money? Does it bring enough money to the table to make it worth the while? No, whereas Louisville does.
Yeah, I don't think they bring the money that Louisville or Miami or even Virginia Tech. Now maybe NC State, they might bring the same money as like an NC State, possibly.
That's
maybe not even there.
You're getting about the NC State pit, but you got to think of this. The television rights and the viewers of a Pitt West Virginia game year in and year out. I would love to see how much money that would bring in versus a West Virginia Oregon State.
Right. You look at it this way. There are 16 teams in the Big 12. Only 3 of them are out east. Everybody else is out west.
And UCF is like 800 miles from here, and Iowa State's 1,000 miles from Morgantown. So I mean, it's
there's not a lot of difference there between travel down to Florida, except for the fact that in West Virginia, a lot of people vacation in Florida. A lot of people go to Florida quite often, so maybe not so bad of a trip for them than going to Iowa State for that reason. So, but anyway, guys, I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Hey, we had a pretty good show to not have anything to talk about. I mean, we really did.
Yeah, and I might have to do the show later that night after your trivia. But we're gonna do a show tomorrow. We're gonna have fun, and I'll put it out in thumbnail tomorrow. So click your notifications. Join me. It might be late. I know you guys like to go late. I'm gonna stay up. I usually go to bed at 10, but I'm gonna stay up so we can rock some college football gossip and have a great time.
All right, everybody. Jackson, tell everybody where to find you at real quick. Or you told him in the chat, I'm sure.
They can find me at YouTube at Jackson Johnson 979, where I'm 143 subs away from that magic number 500. They can also find me running my mouth on X on Jackson09960335 and on Instagram at Jackson543908. And of course, they can also find my last 4 episodes of the Jacksonian, where I had Johnny Burtz on last Saturday, and I pre-recorded an episode with Parker Thune at Rivals, and I released an episode Wednesday that I pre-recorded this last Friday with Corey Smith from Pack Pride at 247 Sports, and I pre-recorded another episode with Jay Smith from Locked On Sooners and Unfair Sports, where we discussed quite a lot about the Oklahoma Sooners, and we even discussed a little bit about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And
Oh, I'm sorry. You talked NFL. I apologize.
Are you excited, Jackson, about the Oklahoma-Alabama game?
Oh, it's fun.
I think that's going to be a banger.
Oh man, it'll be fun. Like, I've heard like some people whining and crying about like, oh, we gotta play we don't have the easy. It's like, I don't like the easy game week before rivalry week. Those games suck. I mean, if we
why do people get hung up on stars?
Well,
I'm gonna tell you right now,
they can recruit. I mean, they're waiting.
I know, but the thing about it is, let me tell you something. The difference between a 4 and a 5-star. We've got 4-star players on our roster that could have been 5 stars, but they've got the skill, they had the points, but the 5 stars are leaving away. So they're 4 stars. So you say, okay, so you have no 5 stars. No, that's not true. There's probably 3 or 4 players on West Virginia's roster that probably could have been 5-star players. One of them's our backup quarterback. So,
no, he's
a stud, and that's our backup quarterback.
So that kid, he had a game on ESPN. He was down 18 points with 4 minutes left, and he came back and won the game. And
he was sick as a dog.
Carried back on the field, like he was like. So that he's a dog.
He was sick as a dog. He was throwing up out on the field.
Nico,
he couldn't hold nothing down. He was and came back and won that game.
Hit like 3 times, like looked like he was smushed. So Mike King, check out some YouTube videos when he played his high school ball out in Arizona, and he's the backup. So
Nico Marchio.
But I mean, Penn State. I grew up watching Penn State, going to Penn State games. Penn State needs to get over the hump and be where Ohio State and Michigan are. And believe me, if any teams play in Ohio State and Michigan, I'm rooting for that team. That's including Penn State. So they need to get over that hump, beat Ohio State and Penn State, and then talk all the trash you want, and I'll agree to it. But I'll agree that they're.
Now, I don't agree with you. My two favorite teams are. I don't agree with you because my 2 favorite teams are West Virginia and whoever beats Penn State. That's my 2 favorite teams.
I like watching Notre Dame lose too. Like Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State. If those are 3 teams, I like to watch get an ass whooping. I see,
but although
Markin down there because he knows what's up. He has his teams. He's just too shy. Don't be shy, Jackson. Tell us who you hate on.
One team I'm always going to piss and moan about is Tennessee. And I don't care that it's 50 years ago. They still need to go to state college. I mean, the fact that they said no to going to state college in the 70s.
Yeah.
So
Rocky Top makes your PP shrivel, right?
Oh, Tennessee always pisses me off.
Yeah, that's good. I like to hear that.
but not the people that like the people are cool, but the team kind of pisses me off from time to time, especially with ESPN hyping them up way too much. They act like it's the 90s. It's not. It's
But
not.
Tennessee's going to be a good
Well,
team this year.
98.
You can't deny that.
Cannon.
Tennessee's going to be a good team this year, Jackson. You
Yeah.
can't deny that. I think there's going to be some good competition in the SEC.
They just
Especially
gotta
when you're
let me
looking-
know when they can beat Florida and Gainesville. Then I'll be like, okay, you
I
deserve
don't know.
it.
If you're over 200 pounds, I'd rather see you wear pink than that color orange that Tennessee has. It kind of.
I'll tell you who's living in dreamland. I'll tell you who's living in dreamland in the SEC right now. South Carolina. South Carolina's living in friggin' dreamland. They're gonna be lucky. They're gonna be lucky to make a bowl game, and they're out here. Oh, we're gonna be so good.
They've never been. Oh, it's so sad though. But they think that's going to happen.
All right, guys. Well, we do appreciate everybody tuning in. Shane will be back with you tomorrow night for West Virginia Live. I'll be back with you tomorrow night for trivia. Listen, we do general trivia, we do sports trivia, we do rounds, like 10-round questions. You have a chance to win every round. You can win you a couple of nice gift certificates to topqualityshirts.com. Get you a nice T-shirt from any content creator you would like on there, whether it might be Mark Rogers, might be Pigskin Pete, it may be Gutter Pub or Controversial Cruising. I don't know who you watch on YouTube, but we have several YouTube content creators in there. You can get you a nice shirt from there. So we will see everybody tomorrow night right back here. And anybody else have anything else to say before we get out of here? I guess that's a no. I reckon.
Well, we'll say let's get West Virginia football at the Voice College Football to 2,000 subs. It's
why not?
500 subs away.
Close.
Why not? I realize that we're not the most consistent channel in the world, but we're getting better. We're getting better. Oh, by the way, guys, so we will have a new host on post game shows this year. Jordan Cruz got season tickets to WVU and is afraid that he won't be able to do it. Now he's going to appear when he can. He'll be in the post game shows when he can. All those guys from over there at oh my gosh, what's the name of their channel? How come I forgot their channel?
Country Roads Webcast.
Country Roads Webcast. Thank you, Jackson. Thank you. Jackson knows all this stuff. Thank you, Jackson. Country Roads Webcast. So they always do our post game shows for us here. They will be joining when they can, but we do have a new one, and I'll touch on that here in the next couple of weeks and bring him on the show and introduce him to everybody. So everybody stay tuned for that. We hope everyone has a great night, and we will see you next week.